What a great film. We're both
Great film.
incredibly moved and inspired, and I know the issues in it are close to your heart. But before we talk about that and much else, apparently there's some new product which you're keen to talk about.
Product.
Yeah, and apparently we've got a film about it. Amazing. It's always like we thought about this in advance. Let's play a little sizzle about something called, what's it called?
ITVX.
There you go.
I know you're guilty.
How many times do I have to tell you I am not a traitor?
We are a family. We are going to get back what's ours.
I can't say how truly sorry I am for what I did to your daughter.
Do you push everyone away?
Yeah, I do.
I want to find out why she was taken from us.
We got it so wrong.
Congratulations. Welcome to the army.
That was easier than I thought.
Well, with so many soldiers retiring, we're taking almost anyone at the moment.
Okay, that makes sense now.
What you're working on is the first ever murder investigation where nobody's actually died.
Wow, that does look amazing.
He sounds so excited.
Well, it's just, yeah, it's just.
Come on.
Can we talk about Holly and Phil? And I'm joking. We will get to that. It does look absolutely fantastic. But a lot of people, including those in this audience, thought that ITV Hub was your digital product. What is ITVX that ITV Hub is not?
So ITV Hub was a catch-up service and was launched, I don't know, 6, 7 years ago. Very basic technology.
Not a great user experience.
It was a very clunky user experience, and it had about 1,000 hours, 1,500 hours of content. So it was never really intended to be a destination. It was always a catch-up service. And I think as we developed digitally, so one of the key things we've done in the last 5 years is we've brought in the capability, we've invested in technology, and we've brought in data in a big way. You know, so we've got data systems, we've got a head of data, all of which kind of gives us the foundation to be able to do ITVX. And of course, viewers' habits have shifted, not massively dramatically, but there is no question people are going to streaming services because there's a huge amount of content that they can browse and they can pick from, and they have choice. And so it was our time to say that, you know, we had to do a big step change and launch this service sooner rather than later. So it's Q4.
And will you be running some of that material digitally first and then moving it onto linear broadcast?
All of that. That's a very important point. So when we say the freshest streaming service, we actually mean it. We think we will have more fresh content every week than any other provider. And the reason for that
Netflix,
is...
Disney, Amazon.
Yeah, because what we are doing is, just remember, we haven't tampered with our linear budgets. So we still have our network budget, which is about 1.1 billion. This is an incremental amount of money, about 160 million only into content, another 40 into technology and data. But that 160 million will go digital first. It will go on ITVX first, and it will run eventually on channels, but you won't be able to get it anywhere else. And it will be every week, there will be a fresh new drop.
How confident are you, or can you be, that ITVX won't cannibalize linear viewing?
So look, I think this is a perennial question, right? Which I think we shouldn't be... I think when I'm talking to shareholders, it's a question that comes up all the time. I think it's more about how much value you can create for the viewer, but also for the shareholder, because that's really important. And we can monetize the viewing on ITVX just as we can on linear. And I think the brilliant thing for ITV is that we do have, and the reason we didn't take away any money from the linear budgets was because they're all doing very well. Every single channel is profitable. We make money and we have good margins on that business. But also we are able to get mass simultaneous reach. So we will frequently get, as a commercial PSB, we're the only ones that can really do that. 6, 7, 8 million. You know, during the World Cup in Q4, you know, it will go up into the 20 millions if England do well, right? So let's hope. And it might be a big hope, but anyway. What I'm trying to say is we've got this fantastic ability to do both things. We can monitor, this is a free service. It's AVOD-led, which means that we can monetize the advertising on ITVX. We have an ad platform which we invested in 4 years ago. We bought something called Videology. It now does highly personalized targeted advertising. The agencies are all on it, and it's doing very well.
And are you trying to create, for the first time really within ITV, a very specific kind of user experience? So a lot of people would say that some of your, especially your younger demographic, have a loyalty to ITV built on the big events. So Love Island, Big Brother when it comes back, football. And what you're trying to do now is create sticky, habitual behaviour, the sort of people that binge watch whole series.
Yeah, look, I would say that all our flagship brands, including I'm a Celebrity and Saturday Night Takeaway and, you know, the 1% Club, which is a new format actually launched only this year, attracted quite a lot of the audience that we're, you know, the 60 to 34s. But there's no question what ITVX is trying to do
keep them there
is keep them there. But most, so there's 34, as you say, everyone's heard of ITV, right? People come to ITV, young viewers come to ITV. The issue for Hub was that with that small amount of content, they wouldn't stay. They'd come in for a massive Love, you know, they'd come in for the whole of Love Island and then they'd disappear. They wouldn't come back because there was nothing else for them to watch. On ITVX, there will be 9,000 hours plus of content for free. And therefore, they will find loads of things. And of course, the way we will engage with them will change quite a lot because we get far more information about what they're watching, what they start and what they drop off, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah. So we will do very nice, very viewer-centric kind of communication with them to say, look, if you loved Spy Among Friends, you're going to love this, this, and this drama. So we'll be very subtle about that, but we will really use that for that. So it's about those 34 million. We've got about a third of them who come in absolutely regularly. We need to increase that, so there's more frequency.
Let's talk about your overall business. I looked at your financial results published in March. You've got a plan to more than double digital revenues to 750 million by 26. There are 4 main revenue streams for ITV at the moment. There's linear advertising, digital subscribers, and then your studios business. How's the balance between those 4 going to change in the next few years?
So I would say, I think the SVOD, the subscriber business, will remain about 10% of our revenues. It's about 10% at the moment, and I think it will remain so. I think digital revenue will grow as the doubling suggests, and we've also said that that 715 million is all digital advertising. We've said that that is a floor, so you know it's not a ceiling. So we would expect to be able to grow that further than 715 million.
Studios? And studios, sorry?
And studios at the moment is 50% of our revenue. I would also expect to see that grow because studios is a growth business. It's doing very well, and we've recently expanded it with, you know, we've just bought Plimsoll, which is a natural history producer, a brilliant company.
Sorry, grow as a proportion of ITV's overall revenues or grow in absolute terms?
Well, I think both.
Right, okay.
Actually, I think studios...
Studios, which only launched, you know, you only got into that business not that long ago, it's going to be more than 50% of your business.
It's doing, you know, it's 60 labels now in 13 countries. We do a lot of, we produce in-market and we also sell formats. So we either produce the formats if we've got a company in the region, or we actually just sell the formats. So our US business is doing very well. Love Island is in there now on CBS. It's a really strong business.
You can't do forward guidance because you're public, but let's do a bit of expectation management. We might already be in a recession. You're ad funded. How badly are you going to be hit? So
we've just talked about the diversification of our revenues. So we're not only ad funded.
Of course,
no question.
Sorry, of course. In the ad business, yeah.
Yeah, but there's no question. So I do think studios in this case does give us a bit of a cushion because we've set out our growth targets of 5% and 13 to 15% margins. We think we can achieve those. I think, yes, you're right. I think the ad funded side of the business is, look, if indeed we are in a recession, we all know that the economy and advertising across the market is linked. And we will be looking at various scenarios about that. What I will also say, though, is that advertisers really do value TV advertising, and I do think through COVID that really came to the fore because it reinforced how important a medium is, and the rate of return on your advertising is 4 times what it is in other media. So all I'm saying is, if you are Unilever, Alan Jope is a great proponent of this, he will say the reason they come out stronger of a slowdown or a recession is because they advertise consistently and they gain market share. And there's lots of evidence to say that advertising on TV through a slowdown is actually good for your business. So we'll be saying that, obviously, to lots of people.
If that's true and your underlying figures, including your revenues for last year, which you mentioned, are up and are very, very strong, Why is your share price taking such a hit?
Well, I think the share price of a lot of UK companies has taken a massive hit.
Yep.
I do think that, I mean, it worries me. You know, it's one of those things that you can't control, you can't do anything about. Now, logically, if you look at what's happened with our share price, we put in, you know, we told them 200 million pound investment, 160 on content, ongoing 40 million. So that 160 million was incremental, and therefore it was a mechanical downgrade, right? So they just said, that's coming off the profit, can't be capitalized, take it off the profit, right? So they took that off the share price. But then what happened, unfortunately for us, we were first in, we did our results 5 days after Russia invaded Ukraine. And people were just beginning to realize there was a massive macro implication to this on pricing, energy, etc. And that definitely really hurt us. Now, that's not to say that we can't tell our story more compellingly. I think we have to. But I do think there's this weird thing in the market, which is that even though companies don't make profit, they're valued at 15 times, and companies that are making a lot of profit, like ITV, our broadcast business at the moment is not valued.
Why is that? It's so hard to explain to people.
I think it's because, you know, people have been forecasting the decline of linear or the erosion of linear or the whatever of linear for a very long time. And that is kind of built into the market. Yeah. And I think they just don't value it in the way they should.
Let's talk regulation. What is your big concern when it comes to the long-promised update to the 2003 Broadcasting Act? The kind of sentence I always wished I could say.
That was a really, that was a non-Amol sentence.
Yeah, I know. It was, I wrote it down in front of me. So halfway through,
I know what you mean, though. Shall I answer it?
But I mean, take it away. But hurry up, because I do want to talk about some other stuff.
Okay, so my biggest concern is that the media bill is not given the urgency and priority it really vitally needs. Ofcom have come out over a year ago and have been very clear about the urgency for prominence, inclusion and fair value. So for PSBs to be prominent on digital platforms and to be able to do deals that are fair and reasonable, those would be the guardrails that we have in the analog world, which would go into the digital world. That is the single most important thing in that digital bill, in that media bill, that needs to be prioritised.
Do you think the fact that there's been 7 Secretaries of State in under 5 years is one reason that that bill hasn't been updated?
Well, I'm a bit of an optimist, and I'm hoping that isn't the case, and that there'll be some continuity of policy. And I think Ofcom do have a really important role to play on this, because as our regulator, I think they can see what is happening. So that's my most important thing, I think, is to get that through.
A couple of quick fires. Have you got a new presenter for Love Island?
Would you like the job?
Yeah.
Go on, put your application in.
Plenty of time on my hands. Chat to Tim. Have you? That wasn't an answer, though, was it? Have you got a new presenter for Love Island or not?
Not yet.
Not yet. Have you got a new presenter for Big Brother?
Not announced yet.
Well, I'm around. Very disappointed to be overlooked in both cases.
You can't do both.
What exactly did Holly and Phil do wrong?
Well, honestly, nothing. Honestly. They did have accreditation. Lots of people saying they didn't. They were sent by This Morning to do a piece for September the 20th, which ran. They were to interview people. They were to interview people inside and outside. They didn't displace anyone in the queue. And actually, they've been very misrepresented, actually. And that's why we made a statement. Unusually, we made a statement to say all of those things. But it does show you how kind of things spread and how misinformation, I mean, just spreads. And it is really horrible for them.
Do you think it's an example of cancel culture?
Well, no, they've not been, I mean, they've not been cancelled, have they? I mean, I think they're highly relevant and still very topical, and I think the majority of their viewers love watching them. But there is a very shrill kind of voice against, and it will, you know, it will hurt them.
But if they did follow the rules, why have they and their reputations taken such a battering?
You tell me. I mean, I think it's just a, I don't know. Is that social media? What is it?
How did that spiral out of control? Because I can understand a lot of people say that they got press accreditation, other people got press accreditation, but something about them and something about that story really hit a nerve. I mean, Domino's Pizza tweeted, "Apologies to anyone waiting on their pizza. We've just received an order from Holly and Phil."
I know, but you know, we talked to them, but they thought that was really funny because they didn't realise.
You spoke to Domino's Pizza?
Well, we just said to them, what are you doing? Because we work with Domino's, right? We were like, what are you doing? And they said, we think it's really funny, don't you? And we said, no. So, you know, I mean, they just thought that was funny. They didn't think of the impact that would have on how people would pick that up and start memeing it. And, you know, I think that's what happens with these things which are, you know, they did not do anything wrong. They were with loads of other broadcasters, many of whom you know, and they were with lots of press journalists, right? So
well, a lot of people think that they should have queued up like members of the public, and that taking any, I mean, it's not me speaking, but I think you have to try and find, I'm interested in your explanation, why is it this has become such a big thing?
I honestly don't know, and I think sometimes minority, like, you know, shrillness can become very, very loud and can become picked up and can become a story. I hope it's not about them. They're very popular, they mean very well, they do lots of good stuff.
How badly are their reputations damaged?
I don't know. I mean, I'm hoping it will just pass. I mean, they're very professional broadcasters, and they're very good at what they do, and This Morning does very well for us.
Are they secure in their posts?
Yeah. Of course.
This is not me looking for more work, by the way. Yeah. Have you spoken to them both in the past few weeks?
I've texted both of them.
How are they?
Actually, I don't think they're feeling great. I mean, it's hard. You imagine yourself in the eye of a storm like this, where you're trying to say you've done nothing wrong, and all the noise around you is saying that you have. It's difficult to handle.
I can imagine it's incredibly tough, but I just wonder what they think is the explanation for why stories become so big.
McCall, and you might, but I haven't.
Well, I'd love to. Have GB News and Talk TV affected your underlying business?
Actually, no. I mean, you know, I think that I've always welcomed that. I always think that the more, you know, they're all Ofcom regulated. I think the more voices, the better. I think diversity is good in terms of different views, different opinions. I think that's good. It's good for the news ecology. But it hasn't damaged us.
Do you think so? At the moment, you don't have any sense that they've created a commercial problem by pulling away either viewers or advertisers?
No.
Not really.
No.
But do you think that they're a good thing because you're broadly pro?
I think it's plurality, isn't it? It's about plural voices. I think that's always good for a democracy. So I'm in favour.
Just go back to the business. How big a problem is it for you if Netflix get into advertising?
Oh no, they're going to. They're starting in November. So I think, look, one, the fact that Disney and Netflix are going to have an ad-light tier is interesting, because I think it's kind of about how powerful TV is, because their sell will be, I think, more like a TV sell. I think, secondly, that they could expand the market. They could actually grow the TV market. But, you know, we will... Three, I think they could be complementary to our audience, so they will extend reach on schedules. Okay, so ITV deliver a mass audience, but then we will deliver some of the same people over again. Netflix will they have a different demographic to us, younger, so they will extend that reach. So none of that is a bad thing, you know, generally. Specifically, though, it is one more entrant or two more entrants into an ad market, and we'll have to monitor very carefully, and we will, you know, we will compete where we have to, but we will also kind of make sure agencies understand how we can complement. But I think, to be honest, I think the broadcasters, the commercial broadcasters will be the primary medium, and they will add on, you know, Netflix to a schedule to make it an extended reach schedule.
I asked both Alex and Tim about what they're doing in terms of social mobility, and I think it's only fair I ask you as well. It's worth saying that I think you could probably offer a minor clarification to something Tim said about measuring socioeconomic diversity. Well, I should have picked him up on it, and I'm sorry that I didn't, because you also measured that. But also, I know that you've made neurological diversity a big centrepiece of how you tried to change ITV. Just tell us a bit about what you're trying to do to make ITV more representative.
So, I mean, a huge amount, to be honest. We published something called the Diversity Acceleration Plan 2 years ago now. We hold ourselves accountable. We've been publishing our social purpose, so that report, and we measure ourselves against the goals that we set, which both has targets, but also talks about inclusivity surveys, because I think Tim was right. I think Alex or Tim said, it isn't just about the stats, it's about how people feel, because actually what can happen is you can recruit people, but you don't retain them, because they don't feel like they belong. So we've done a lot of work on both of those things. We have done mentoring schemes, we've done all sorts. I mean, socioeconomically, we've published those figures. So we've already said that we're 30% socioeconomic, so working class backgrounds in ITV. We've got a target of 33%, and the national average is 38%, and we would want, obviously, to aspire to that. So at the moment, and we're not complacent about this, ITV is genuinely got social mobility kind of in it's already there. We probably are a bit better than most of the industry on that. And I think you can feel that because we're very regional. You know, everywhere you go, you get different accents in ITV. You know, and our newsreaders also, you know, whether it's Charlene, whether it's whoever, Nina, whoever it is, you know, our regional news presenters are a very important part of our news offering. So I think we are different in that we have always had a very, very strong northern presence, for instance. So the point I think about that film was intersectionality. I mean, it was very powerful about black autism, but actually what it was saying is you can be a woman, but also be disabled. Right, and there's an intersectionality, and what we've done about that is we've got 5 very strong networks, but I set up a digital a diversity advisory council with all of them, so that they all sit around a table every quarter and discuss where they can all help each other and where they intersect, because otherwise they become very siloed.
And I think you're the first FTSE 100 company that's got a diversity dedicated director.
Yeah, she's brilliant, Ade, because she's a producer and commissioner by background, and so she understands the business really, really well. And the conversation at the management board has definitely broadened and changed as a result of having her on the board.
Can we all give Carolyn a big round of applause? Thank you very much.